Growing up in Utah, the Mormon church wasn't just a part of life, it was life. Sundays, scout meetings, seminary, it was the air we breathed. So when I was 12 and the church announced the 200th anniversary of Joseph Smith's first vision, the supposed divine encounter that birthed it all, it was a monumental event. They called it the Day of Celebration, and they brought in thousands of youth, myself included, to a massive stadium in Salt Lake City for an epic performance. Songs, dances, scripture readings, the whole 9 yards. We were the choir, practicing for weeks, first at local wards, then at the sprawling conference center downtown. That's where things started to go sideways. Most of the songs were typical hymns, praising the church and its mission. Harmless, right? Then came Bring Him Forth. From the first beat it was different. A deep, resonant drum, like a slow, pounding heartbeat, thrummed beneath the melody. The words? They were unlike anything I'd ever heard in church. The first verse was standard, talking about the church's growth, doing God's work. But the second verse, that one twisted my gut every single time we sang it. It went like this. The first was the vision. The second was the death. The third was at Mountain Meadows, where blood was spilt with every breath. The fourth was in Nauvoo, when the temple was rebuilt. The fifth will be this gathering, where below the blood was spilled. The sixth will be the temples, as we spread across the land. And the seventh will open the lock, to the end of man. I tried to talk to my friends about it. Isn't that weird? I'd ask. Most just shrugged or worse, chided me for questioning something sacred. It was the same evasiveness I'd met when asking about temple rituals, baptisms for the dead, endowments, all that mysterious stuff they said was too sacred to discuss. The silence, the vague answers, they felt less like reverence and more like a cover-up. Curiosity gnawed at me. Mountain Meadows? That line stuck. I looked it up. The Mountain Meadows Massacre. Not a glorious chapter in church history, not by a long shot. A brutal ambush in southern Utah in the 1800s, where Mormon militiamen, some disguised as Native Americans, slaughtered a wagon train of settlers, men, women, and children. The church, of course, has always tried to distance itself, claiming Brigham Young ordered against it. But old journals, eyewitness accounts, they tell a different, far more sinister story. A story of calculated execution, then a systematic cover-up. It confirmed my growing unease. The day of the celebration arrived. We were in our choir uniforms ready to perform. Bring Him Forth wasn't on the official program, and I felt a strange mix of relief and disappointment. Maybe they'd cut it. The show progressed, a blur of wholesome performances. Then near the end, an old man I'd never seen before with no introduction, walked to the center of the stadium. A hush fell over the thousands of youth. He spoke, his voice raspy, echoing in the pin-drop silence. He announced that the next numbers were special, too sacred to be filmed or recorded. Then he nodded to us. We began our choir piece. As we hit the second bar, most of the stadium lights died, plunging us into a dim twilight. From the darkness, a procession of children emerged, carrying candles, their tiny flames casting flickering shadows that danced with the heavy drum beat that had just started. Then came the dancers. Not the cheerful, choreographed routines we'd seen earlier. These were different. Their movements were jerky, almost spastic, like puppets on strings. And then I saw it. Several of the younger children, part of the candle procession, fell to the ground. They weren't just stumbling. They were convulsing, limbs flailing, their bodies jerking uncontrollably in the candlelight. No one rushed to help them. The performance continued, the choir singing, the dancers twisting, the children on the ground writhing. A cold dread seeped into my bones. This wasn't a show, it felt like a ritual. When it was finally over, a quick prayer and we were dismissed. We filed out dazed. No one talked about it. I tried to bring it up later with my friends, but they either genuinely didn't remember the details or, more chillingly, refused to acknowledge it. It was like a collective amnesia had wiped the night clean. I tried to forget it too. For over a decade I did. Until now. A few weeks ago, I went back to my old neighborhood hoping to reconnect with some old friends, especially my scout leader, a good man who helped me through a rough patch. But a lot of families were gone. Not just moved, but gone. I tracked down an old neighbor asking about my scout leader. She told me he'd moved to another county, working security at a temple. That sounded off. I dug deeper. Phone calls, old contacts. His trail was convoluted. Bounced between security, maintenance, custodial roles and various church facilities, until he just vanished into the system. No one knew what happened to him. I finally found a trace through state records, a small city in northern Utah. But the church records for that city didn't match. He was there with his family, but they weren't the people I knew. He'd ranked up, now a stake president, a regional leader overseeing multiple wards. The real kicker was his son, Michael. Michael would be around 20 now, mission age. When I asked about him, their faces went blank. Confused. They said they didn't know any Michael. Their only son was Jacob, 16, looking forward to his mission in a few years. It was like Michael had been erased. I checked on 10 other families from my old ward. 3 had vanished into the church's internal system, just like my scout leader. 4 families, entire households, had been completely scrubbed from any record. They simply no longer existed. And the few old-timers I spoke to? None of them remembered those families either. Just blank stares or polite, confused denials. I don't think I was supposed to remember that song or those families. But I do. With a terrifying clarity. The last 2 lines of "Bring Him Forth" echo in my head like a death knell. The 6th will be the temples, as we spread across the land, and the 7th will open the lock, to the end of man. More Mormon temples are being built now than ever before, all across the globe. Groundbreakings announced every year. That's the 6th. And now, people are missing. Entire families forgotten by everyone but me. I can't shake the feeling that we're standing on the precipice of the 7th. I wonder what else is happening behind those sacred walls, beyond the prying eyes of the uninitiated. And what will it mean for all of us when they finally open the lock? Because sometimes the real horror isn't in what you see, but in what's hidden, slowly, meticulously, moving into place right under your nose. Story 2. I grew up in southern Appalachia, just 30 minutes outside Asheville, North Carolina. These mountains are ancient, over 1 billion years old, older than life on land itself. They hold stories, energies, things that defy explanation. Like the brown mountain lights near Morganton, strange orbs that flicker across the ridgelines, seen for centuries. Locals say they're the spirits of Cherokee warriors, searching for kin lost in ancient battles. Scientists talk of swamp gas or reflections, but no one's cracked the mystery. Sometimes you feel a faint warmth passing old homesteads, like an echo of lives long gone, peaceful but distant. This story, though, isn't peaceful. It's about a place that watches, waits, and haunts. And it started with a church. Deep in a forgotten holler near my parents' land stood an old, abandoned chapel. Crumbling stone, rotting wood, swallowed by kudzu. It was older than my grandparents' time, maybe even pre-Civil War. Locals steered clear. Old man Carter, my neighbor, swore it was cursed. He said his grandfather saw strange lights there in the 1920s, like the Brown Mountain lights but colder, angrier. Driving home from AB Tech, where I was a 20-year-old student, I'd glimpse it through the trees in my beat-up '98 Ford Ranger. That chapel didn't just sit there, it called to me, a quiet, eerie pull. It wasn't just old, it felt alive. One late afternoon, a month into my summer semester, I gave in. A dull class had me itching for something real. Instead of heading home, I jerked the wheel right, onto the overgrown gravel path to the chapel. Dust trailed behind me. My heart thumped, half fear, half thrill. I grabbed my phone, started an Instagram live to share the creepy vibe with friends. "Yo, checking out this haunted church near my place," I said, trying to sound chill. The viewer count climbed, 3, 7, 12. The path was rough, branches scraping my truck. After a few hundred yards, the trees parted, and there it was. The chapel loomed, bigger than it looked from the road, its broken roof like a jagged scar. Shattered stained glass windows stared blankly, and the wooden doors sagged on rusted hinges. A rusted iron fence, half collapsed, circled what might have been a cemetery, now just mossy mounds. I killed the engine. Silence hit hard. No birds, no crickets, just rustling leaves. The air was heavy, smelling of damp earth and something sharp like old metal. Carter's warning rang in my head, "Don't linger, boy. Them lights ain't right." I stepped out, boots crunching gravel, phone up to livestream. "Check this out," I whispered, panning across the ruins. Comments popped up, "That's spooky AF. You see that glow?" My skin crawled. The chapel felt like it was watching, its empty windows locked on me. Inside, the air was colder, thicker. Overturned pews were blanketed in moss. The altar was rubble, dusted with dirt. Faint sunlight spilled through the broken roof, casting eerie shadows. I swung the phone around, narrating, This is straight up horror movie vibes. Then I saw them, pale, flickering lights in the far corner like faint fireflies. Not bright like the brown mountain lights, but wrong, pulsing slowly, almost matching my heartbeat. My viewers saw it too. W for those lights? Bro, get out. I froze, phone shaking. The lights weren't reflections. They moved, drifting closer, then vanishing into shadows. A low hum started, not mechanical but like distant whispers, too soft to understand. My name, Jack, cut through sharp and clear though no one knew I was here. The air turned heavy, oppressive like despair itself was choking me. The whispers grew, a mournful wail, like souls trapped in the stone, cursing and pleading. Shadows on my phone screen twisted, forming vague, tall shapes, not quite human. You guys seeing this? I stammered. Comments went wild. Something's behind you. Run. The hum became a low, mocking laugh, echoing in my head, not my ears. I bolted, phone still recording, boots pounding rotting floorboards. Out the door, across the clearing, into the truck. Key and engine sputtering, then roaring. The whispers chased me, fading but never gone, like they'd hooked into my soul. I checked my phone, viewer count at 60, comments frantic. What was that sound? The rearview mirror showed nothing but trees, yet the air felt wrong, like something rode with me. I sped home, ended the stream, locked every door and window. But I couldn't shake it. The whispers, the lights, the weight of something ancient and angry. Carter's stories haunted me. His grandfather said the chapel was built on a Cherokee burial ground, disturbed by settlers long ago. Those lights were spirits, he claimed, bound to the land, following anyone who lingered too long. I never went back. But every time I pass that gravel turnoff, a cold knot grips my stomach. At night, in the quiet, I hear it, faint whispers, my name carried on the wind. Not calling me back, but warning me. Some places aren't just abandoned. They're cursed. And some spirits don't sleep, they wait. And I saw them.
Story 3. I've been the organist for an Episcopal church in a pretty big city up in the Northeast for a few years now. It's a magnificent, historic building, the kind with towering stone architecture and a sanctuary so vast it could easily swallow 400 souls. The acoustics are insane, 7-8 seconds of reverb. You could drop a pin at the altar and I'd hear it from the back. No carpet, no cushioning, just stone, wood, and echoes. I'm a classically trained organist in my early 30s. Music degrees, sacred music, basically, I live for this. It's my dream job. Problem is, I'm a bit of a recluse. Stage fright for anything but playing. Give me a keyboard and I'm fine. Put me in front of people to talk? Hard pass. My free time is movies, video games, and practice. I'm a night owl, most productive between 7 p.m. and 1 a.m. My hours are flexible except for Sundays and holidays. And my favorite time to practice? When no one else is around. No interruptions, no random parishioners asking questions. Just me, the organ, and the vast, empty church. It lets me really let loose, especially when I'm trying to nail a new piece, lots of repeating short phrases, and nobody needs to hear that messy part. Now, any old church at night is creepy. This one? It's a symphony of unsettling noises. The heating system alone sounds like a sledgehammer fight in the pipes, followed by groans and creaks as the building settles. Sometimes you swear you hear footsteps overhead, or a door slowly opening. Just building noises, I tell myself. I've seen my share of critters too, rodents, bats, even a bird once. Nothing you can't rationalize. We've had break-ins before, but a new security system fixed that. I usually get used to the darkness, the sounds. I always do. My organ console is up front, near the altar, facing down the long 100-foot aisle. To my left, the altar. To my right, a small wall. Beyond that, the shadowy nave, and, at the very back, a pure white statue of Jesus ascending. I call him Ghost Jesus, sometimes arms outstretched, robes flowing. Don't worry, this isn't about Ghost Jesus. I practice with minimal light, just the altar area. The nave is mostly dark, streetlights barely bleeding through the heavy stained glass windows, turning them into drab black voids. Just enough light to see the outline of pews, those ornate pillars lining the aisle, and Ghost Jesus, a pale sentinel in the distant gloom. The night it happened, I rolled in around 11 p.m. This was a blow-off-some-steam session. Started with Bach's Fantasia and Fugue in G minor. 10-12 minutes of pure power felt amazing. Next, I decided to improvise on a hymn, Old Hundredth. You'd know the tune even if you're not religious. Sometimes I just blast through it, verse after verse, pulling out stops randomly until I'm on full organ. Brain disengaged, just letting the music flow. It's carefree, fun, sometimes I even stumble on something new. I'm really going at it, verse after verse, the full majesty, joy, fanfare, the works, like everyone just dumped their life savings into the offering plate. Finally, I decide I've had enough. I bring it to a thunderous close, a big, final plagal amen. I release the last chord and the sound of the organ echoes ringing down the nave, fading back. But it didn't fade to silence. Not this time. As the last majestic notes died, a new sound emerged from the absolute stillness of the sanctuary. From the far end of the nave, a human voice, croaking, monotone, ah. It was quiet, but relentless, persistent, with little clicks and hisses, never a pause for breath. It felt like it was getting louder, pressing in on me, but I knew it was just the acoustics, the utter lack of any other sound, and the frantic pounding of my own heart. The noise as etched into my memory felt like an eternity, but it was only a few seconds before I choked out, "Hello." The sound didn't stop, didn't acknowledge me, just continued, from the back of the nave. My heart hammered. I called out again, louder this time. "Hey." It kept going. I couldn't see a damn thing in the shadows. Panic surged. In a desperate knee-jerk reaction, I slammed my forearm down on the keyboard, stomped both feet on the pedals, releasing a deafening, dissonant blast of sound from the organ. It roared through the nave, shaking the very stone, then slowly faded. I listened. This time, thank God, it was silence. Fuck this, I thought. I'm out. 20 minutes, a record for me. I slammed the cancel piston to silence all the stops, hastily slid off the bench to change my organ shoes. I was shaking, creeped out beyond belief, but my mind was racing through explanations. Deciphering pipe? Sympathetic vibrations? I'd heard building noises before, but never like that. It sounded too much like articulated vowels. Like one of those artificial voice boxes, but without the digital hum. I have a good ear, I know what I heard. What happened next sent me over the edge. I was bent down, reaching for my loafers. Boom. The organ pipes all around me. A blast of dissonant sound, exactly what I had just played myself. I jumped out of my skin, goosebumps prickling every inch of my body. My head snapped around. Nothing. No movement. No one running. No other sound to suggest a person had been there. The console is 5 feet high, 3 feet deep. You couldn't just casually reach it. And I was right there. I stared at the console, at the stops still drawn as I had left them before I canceled them, and the realization hit me like a physical blow. I took off running. In my socks. Out the door behind the choir loft, slammed on every light switch I could find, and bolted for the main exit. Armed the security system, threw myself out the glass doors. I was gasping, hyperventilating, but the noise of city traffic, the distant pedestrians, it was a lifeline. I could breathe. I could hear normal things again. Jumped in my car, lit a cigarette, and pulled over right outside the church, watching that blinking security light turn from flashing yellow to steady red. Sat there for 3 minutes, an eternity, making sure the motion detector stayed quiet. Then I burned rubber all the way home. On my porch, I chain-smoked 5-6 cigarettes, replaying every horrific second. Then I went inside, tried to lose myself in video games. Around 1:30 a.m., 2 hours after my escape, my phone rang. The church sexton. Alarm going off. Was I still there? I told him no, I'd left around 11:30. I mumbled something about maybe forgetting to turn off the console, not mentioning the other things. He'd told the security company to call him before the cops. Service fee for false alarms, you know. The next day, the sexton told me what he found. He met the police, disarmed the system, turned off the organ console. The office phone was ringing off the hook. 4 voicemails between 12 o'clock and 12:30 a.m. From residents in the apartment building across the street. Complaining about the racket. Asking the organist to stop all that noise. One was really angry. The others surprisingly polite. Now you can hear the organ outside faintly. But loud enough to wake the neighborhood? Only if you were pressing 30+ keys at the same time. And the alarm? The security company reported motion sensors triggered in the rector's office, the rear nave, and the altar area throughout the night. Never at the same time, never anywhere else. If it was a bat, it should have tripped sensors in the main nave, the hallways. The office door was locked anyway. 3 different bats? A system malfunction? They logged it as a malfunction. But get this, even after the alarm was disabled, the sensors still recorded movement. After the police and sexton left, those same 3 sensors kept triggering. Faster and faster, from 2:30 a.m. to 3:30 a.m., then stopped cold. And it hasn't happened since. Here's the kicker. Right before I bolted, when I looked at the console, the stop combination, the one that played itself, it was exactly what I had pulled by hand. This organ has no recall function, no MIDI sequencer. It can't play itself. Even if it did, I would have heard the stops pull. They make a distinct, soft clunk when they engage. I wouldn't have missed it, not when I was already on a knife edge. And that croaking voice? The more I think about it, the more I hear it. Praise God. Over and over. Praise God. The first 2 words of the doxology I was practicing. Maybe my mind's just reconstructing a dream, fitting it into something comprehensible. I don't know what to think. A fluke? Several odd noises, all perfectly reasonable, just happening at the exact wrong time to scare the perfect shit out of me? If it was something supernatural. Was it trying to sing? Did it like music? Was it mocking me? Or was it just pissed I was playing so loud? Since then, I only practice during the day when other people are around, so I can blame the noises on them. I'm sure eventually I'll rationalize it all away, go back to playing at night. But not anytime soon. Nothing else has happened. Not that I know of anyway. And that's the most unsettling part. I live in a small town in West Virginia. It's the kind of place with a Walmart, a McDonald's, and not much else for teens to do. So, like most kids here, my friends and I spend our nights driving back roads, exploring the woods, chasing thrills. One Friday night, that chase led us somewhere we'll never forget. There were 4 of us, me, the only girl, and my friends Jay, Ben, and Trey. We took a familiar road, one we'd driven 100 times. About 20 minutes in, the houses thinned out, and the woods grew thick. That's when we saw it, a small, abandoned church tucked off the road. From a distance, it looked normal, just another old building. But as we got closer, an uneasy feeling hit us all. The trees around it were tall, maybe 40 feet, and dead, their branches clawing at the sky. Vines choked the walls, windows were shattered, and the front door hung busted on its hinges. It wasn't just old, it felt wrong, like it was watching us. Locals avoid this place. My uncle once told me it was built in the 1800s during the Civil War, on land where a skirmish left a dozen soldiers dead. Some say the church was abandoned after folks saw strange lights flickering inside, like the Mothman sightings in Point Pleasant, about an hour away. I'm an adrenaline junkie, so despite the dread creeping up my spine, I was hyped. The guys were too, except Ben, our religious friend, who said the place felt off before we even parked. We teased him, said it was just the dark playing tricks. We parked Jay's truck by the side of the church. The back door was ajar, creaking in the wind. We decided to check the outside first. Nothing much, just those dead trees and a single weathered headstone in what must have been a tiny graveyard, common for rural churches here. But the air felt heavy, like it was pressing down on us, smelling of damp earth and something faintly metallic. We headed to the back entrance. The door opened too easily, leading straight to the basement. Ben hesitated, muttering about bad energy, but he didn't want to stay in the truck alone, so he followed. Inside, it looked like a kid's Sunday school room gone to ruin, scattered crayons, a broken chair, old dolls with creepy, faded eyes. The concrete floor was littered with splintered wood, and the walls were busted, insulation spilling out. My flashlight beam danced across the mess as I led the way, Jay at my side, Trey joking around, and Ben trailing nervously. I veered left and found a small doorway to the boiler room. It was mostly intact, but then I saw it. Faint, dark stains on the wall, like something had seeped through the ceiling. Not blood, maybe, but it looked wrong, too dark, too deliberate. A chill hit me hard. I wanted to bolt, but the guys would have roasted me, so I called them over. Trey laughed, saying it was cult vibes, which made Ben flinch. To our right was an open doorway to what looked like an old kitchen. Dusty cabinets, a cracked counter, nothing weird at first. Then Ben grabbed my arm, whispering, "We gotta go. Now." He pointed to the sink. There were dishes, used dishes with bits of food still fresh like someone had eaten here hours ago. This wasn't an abandoned church. Someone or something was using it. Jay agreed we should leave, but then we noticed Trey was gone. He'd been right behind us in the kitchen, but now, nothing. Panic set in. Then we heard it, soft footsteps from the floor above, slow and deliberate. My heart pounded. To our right was a staircase leading up. None of us wanted to go, but Trey was our friend, and that was the only place he could have gone. Jay took the lead, me behind him, Ben clutching my sleeve. We crept up the stairs, quiet as we could. The main sanctuary was a wreck, rotting pews, broken windows letting in slivers of moonlight. Our flashlights cut through the dark, and we spotted Trey wandering near the front, by another staircase leading to the pulpit. He was staring at something, muttering about a cool glow. We froze. In the shadows behind him, near the pulpit, a faint, pale light flickered, not like a flashlight, but cold, pulsing, like the stories of Mothman's glowing eyes or the lights my uncle mentioned. It wasn't bright, but it moved, drifting across the wall, then vanishing. We waved Trey over, whispering that his mom called Jay, saying he was grounded, anything to get him to move without freaking him out. I gripped the front door handle, ready to run. The light didn't follow, but as Trey reached us, a low whisper filled the air, not words, just a soft, mournful hum, like a voice trapped in the walls. I yanked the door open, and we sprinted to the truck, piling in as the church door slammed shut behind us, though no one touched it. We peeled out, shaking. Trey looked sick when we told him about the dishes and the light. Ben said the energy in that church wasn't holy, it was angry, like it hated us being there. He thought it might be tied to those Civil War soldiers, their spirits trapped after the bloodshed, or maybe something darker like the cult rumors you hear in these parts. We swore never to go back. But lately I've been itching to return, maybe after Christmas. I bought a machete just in case. I'll take pictures if I go, proof of how creepy this place is even in daylight. Because some places aren't just abandoned. They're waiting.